What's up, man? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you said so. Where'd you come from? You drove 3 hours?
Yeah, I am. I'm originally from Ohio.
Okay.
But I currently live in Pittsburgh right
Pittsburgh.
now.
Okay, awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for driving so far, dude.
Yeah, no
This
problem.
Is awesome.
Appreciate you even having me.
Oh, of course, the second episode. So I couldn't be doing this without you, bro. So thank
Fair.
you.
Yeah, that's very fair.
So tell me about your music. What kind of got you into? What got you started in music? What was your journey into becoming who you are today?
Music was always around in my family. Like I was like, God, even when I was like a little baby, like there was always music in the house.
Oh, yeah.
It could be anything from like my dad. He's big into like 80s hair metal and even like 90s grunge, like Nirvana
yeah.
and stuff. Like I grew
sweet.
up on that. Yeah, I grew up on a lot of that. My mom, she's more on like the alternative stuff. Like I grew up a lot on like Mushroomhead and stuff in the house and other bands that were of, similar stature, Pantera, stuff like that with all my family. So metal music was kind of like already there in the beginning. Yeah, it's pretty much been that, and then I went through like a whole phase where it was just like strictly like rap music because I was just so sick of like I was so sick of like metal and rock for so long, but I eventually like turned it around whenever.
Who were some of your like favorite artists when you were listening to the rap?
It was mostly Eminem and like Biggie and
Okay,
Tupac.
hell yeah.
It was a lot of like
Tupac.
older rap stuff. Just
Tupac.
for me personally, because my dad is also like a big like Biggie fan, so
fuck yeah.
I kind of grew up on it, and I was like, okay, I kind of like this. Some pop in there too, like Black Eyed Peas and stuff, like stuff that you'd hear on the radio.
The bops back in the day from when we were kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, dude, those were the days. I used to want to be a type of like rapper.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day.
What would have been your rap name?
Oh, I have no fucking clue. I never thought about it that far. I was just like, dude, I want to kind of do this rap thing. And I think it turned around when my cousin had showed me Asking Alexandria.
I love those guys, yeah.
Yeah, it was, what was the song? Not The American Average.
Hell
He
yeah.
showed me the music video for it when they were playing, I think it was like Warped Tour.
Okay, fuck yeah.
And it was just like, holy shit, what is this? And it just kind of opened the floodgates for me. And then my sister was also listening to what was it, Black Veil Brides, Pierce the Veil, Of Mice and Men. I really dug Of Mice and Men at the time, and I would listen to those guys for hours and hours, just consistently. Attila early on.
Hell yeah. For me, it was like Bullet for My Valentine.
Yeah.
Avenged Sevenfold's always been a big inspiration on my stuff.
Fair. I can hear it for sure whenever I see you guys play.
Hell
Yeah.
Who's some of your mostly yours, but who do you guys like to pull your influences from?
I pull my influences from there's this vocalist named Austin Dickey. He used to be in a band called For the Likes of You. Dude, I love Austin so much. Like,
surprisingly the softest person to mosh with. I hit this man in the mosh pit and I bounced like 5 feet because he's like ginormous.
Yeah, he's a big
tall,
dude. Yeah.
But that dude's an amazing person. I love him.
Dude, I haven't gotten the chance to actually like meet him yet, but I have. Hopefully, with everything going with like our band and stuff, hopefully we can go to like Washington and
that's how I got to meet him, was living out there.
Yeah,
I got to meet him once at I think it was Jared Dines was putting on like a benefit show or something, and I was
nice.
I gotta go to this. Drove up 45 minutes up to Seattle from where I was.
Yeah.
It's amazing people.
Dude, I bet. Yeah, because it's so funny because when I was younger, I was like 16. I, for some reason, had, I think it was Austin's Snapchat for a while. Yeah, I was like 16 years old and just like talking to him. He probably doesn't remember it, but we didn't talk very often.
If you're listening to this by chance, hit up your boy.
Yeah, literally. But to go back on the main subject of where I pulled my inspiration from, it was mostly him because I stumbled upon, I think it was the Jonathan Young Pokey Rap video. And I was like, dude, this dude's vocals are fucking nuts. And I was just flabbergasted. I'm like, I want to do that. I want to do those vocals. Those are sick. And the rest is history.
Did you watch their the Musician Mansion that they did?
I'm not done with it yet. I am 3 episodes in.
I was watching that. And every time what I like to do is I like to watch the vocalist and see what they're doing.
Yeah, same.
And so I was just trying. I still to this day I've been trying to figure out how this man sounds so fucking demonic.
I know. Dude, it's tough.
I don't get it.
Even I'm still trying to figure that shit out.
Your vocals are fucking insane, especially for
Thank
the style that you guys do. It was perfect. I mean, your vocals are perfect, and I don't know how you guys do it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Is it the inhales?
No, I am all like false chord. Just I used to watch Austin's like tutorial videos back in the day, and the biggest thing that I took away from it was, excuse me, I burped. The biggest thing that I took away from that was when I was starting to do mids, because everybody tells you like do the heavy sigh, like
yeah,
like that. It was like a good
work on
start.
the guttural side of it.
Kind of, yeah. It was like it was a push that way, but what really got me to get at it was the best way he described it was barking like a big dog.
Okay.
You know, like a roof.
Okay,
know,
yeah, I
like,
see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be stuff like that. I'd be practicing for like hours and making my vocals like raw and shit, like doing it just improperly because I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing, but...
How long have you been doing vocals?
Probably since I was 16, so about 8 years.
That was the first thing that you did music-wise with vocals?
Yeah. My parents bought me a guitar when I was a kid, but I didn't really play with it much. Like, I knew I wanted to do something with music, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I just couldn't sit down and focus and practice on a guitar for some reason. Like, now that I'm older, I probably could if I wanted to, but like vocals, once I got a little bit older and I came across like wanting to do vocals and stuff, I was like, I want to do it.
I feel you there. Drums was my first instrument, and then my dad was also a drummer, and he's like, get a guitar. I want to be able to jam with you. Like, we can't jam if we're both drummers.
Right. I
was like, you're not wrong. And so I picked up some cheap guitar, and it took me forever just with trying to get past, like, it. I was a total pansy in a way as a kid, and the finger pains I would get from playing guitar, because none of my guitars, even to this day, I've never had my guitar set up properly. It's always just been some hodgepodge way of myself. Right. Just messing with shit.
Yep.
And for the longest time, I couldn't get past the finger pains. So I completely understand what you're saying. It took me forever.
Yeah. And that was for me. And then my dad, he fiddles with the bass every now and then. So like he can play, I think it's Aerials by System.
Fuck yeah, I love that song.
Move It Down, and he can play that song on the bass, and I think that's just the coolest shit.
That's fucking dope. Hell yeah.
My dad didn't quite know what I was on about, because like I didn't grow up with like death metal and stuff like that, so he's like, where did this come from? You know. So when he heard me practicing in the shower one time, and he kind of mocked me, but he came to our first show and he's like, okay, I get it. Like, he understood.
Sweet. That's dope.
Yeah, like he never like fully understood until he came to our first show, and he's like, okay, I get it. Like, the energy is all cool and stuff. A lot of people really vibed with it. So he's like, okay, you got me. Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. What about you, man? What about you? Where do you take your like vocal inspirations from?
So I do voice impressions. You're going to hate me.
Okay.
I've only been doing vocals for as long as this band's been around.
Oh, really?
Like a year, almost 2 years now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Tim said like 2 years.
Yeah, we started back in 22. So I wasn't even our vocalist then. I was our guitarist originally. So if you look back at our first music video, it's just the three of us, where it's me playing guitar with Quentin, and then Tim's on drums. We had no vocalist. We had no clue who was going to be our vocalist. And it just kind of came up like, hey, we kind of need a vocalist. And those that we tried out weren't really fitting what we were looking for.
Right.
And I was like, I've always wanted, like, it's always been like a thought, like I wish I could do this, but every time I've tried to do screams beforehand, it would hurt. I would cough too much. I could never figure out the proper way to do it. And then we were just at practice one night, and
it's tough, man.
It's insane.
It's tough.
I'm still working at figuring out the proper techniques for everything, because I think the Valentine's Day show, I had vocal fatigue for like 3 days almost.
Oh, really?
It was bad. Yeah, I pushed myself way too hard at that show.
Dude, to be fair, that show was really fun.
Oh, hell yeah.
The only problem I had was the fact that For Absent Friends only got to play like 3 songs. But I get it, because their setup, they take a while.
There was a lot that went into that.
Yeah, I bet. Because we've only been playing out since we played April of last year, we played 2 shows. Yeah, two shows. We played 2 shows, and that was we were opening for Existing in Exile. Those guys are super nice, by the way. Really cool band. You should check them out. I think they're from, it's either Kentucky or Tennessee. I can't remember. I think it's Tennessee. I think they're from like close to Nashville. But either way, really cool dudes. They didn't see. My first impression was that they were the headliners, but they never had their kit up on the stage. Like they struck. Yeah. Which I ended up learning what striking meant later on. But they ended up striking because they deal with that all the time, even on a headliner tour, you know, whatever. But I was like, okay, cool. And then there's other like time. We played the May 4th show, which was really cool. I think everybody wore like Star Wars related stuff. Yeah, it was pretty dope. And that was like a last minute jump onto because Jake from Morning in May, really cool dude. Yeah, super nice. He's been doing it forever, but he's super nice dude. And he was like, "Hey, do you guys want to hop on this show?" And we're like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, dude." Fuck yeah. Yeah, so and we played with Asaba. I don't know if you know who Asaba is. No. They played at Inc. like the year prior. Okay, hell yeah. Yeah, like it was pretty cool. Like I had no idea because whenever we hop on a show, if I'm unaware of who the band is, I go out of my way to try to listen to if they have anything out. I always like to do the opposite. I always like to wait until the show. Really? Yeah, because there's a lot of things that can happen when it comes to recording. Like bands can either sound nowhere near like it. True. Or it'll give me a false sense of what their sound, or they'll just sound way better live. And I tend to always prefer a band live over the recordings because there's just a whole different feeling and energy with it. Yeah, it's a whole experience. Exactly. And so I always like to wait and see how they sound live, and then I'll go back and listen on the recordings. Right. Yeah. But for me, it's like I want to understand like what the sound they're going for. Yeah. Just because like I love all sorts of different music. Like I've told this to many people, but like our band will play with anybody. Like we were on a like mostly rap bill at one point. Like we didn't get to do it because I ended up getting pneumonia, sadly. But you know, it was like I told his name is Travis Heater. He was actually at the Valentine's Day show. Oh, yeah. I was gonna say I don't know if you saw him, but really nice dude too. He's just super kind and he is just all about the local scene. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So really cool. He wanted us on this one show at Maple Grove. And I really wanted to play it so bad, but I've got to Ohio and like sat down in our practice space, and I was just like, dude, I can't do it. Like I feel awful. I feel like I'm dying. Like it doesn't feel good. No, and always keep that though. Your health is always way more important than a show. Yeah, and that was the thing too. Is like I kind of kicked myself in the ass, but I'm like I need to go see a doctor because this is bad. Yeah, and I was hospitalized for like 4 days with pneumonia because they were like, yeah, you got pneumonia pretty bad, so we need to keep you for a couple days. I'm glad you're better. Yeah, I'm glad to be better and glad to be doing what we do now. Yeah, because we just had to cancel a show recently, so I know exactly the feeling of just having to of letting people down or just and I'm like, you know what? As much as I would love to play the show, your health will always, to me, be like people's health. If you're not feeling healthy to do the show where your health is at risk, not worth it. Yeah, and that's what my bandmates were telling me too. And they're like, dude, don't beat yourself up. Like, you tried. Like, exactly. You physically came here to try to practice before the show. Like, that's just mad respect. Exactly. But it was still just like in my mind, I'm like, fuck. Yeah, you can't let those things beat yourself up. Right. Yeah. And I have a question for you. Your band, you kind of talk about like your time in the Army and like mental health and stuff. So I was just curious, like, what made you want to write about that, if you don't mind? So initially, when I wrote songs, kinda when I was a kid, and then it kind of like broke away from me for a while. Was kind of distracted just on just how life works, right. And then my dad passed away, and that's when I first actually wrote an actual full-fledged, like, wrote music and everything for it. And it felt more honest to me to talk about what's going on in my head. Yeah. And I've always been felt like an outcast or felt
separated from anybody. I could never feel like I could trust
Like
people.
the weird kid.
Like not in a sense the weird kid, but I always never could feel like I could trust people. So if I was friends with you, I'd always in the question in the back of my head, like, are we really friends? Or if I see you talking to somebody and I can't hear what you're saying, my brain instantly goes, oh, what are you saying about me?
Right, you talking shit. Yeah.
And so I've always just had this weird kind of like mental craziness. And then when I joined the Army, within first 6 months, I had 15 friends commit suicide, which is what 15 is
15,
about.
yep.
And then at exact same time, after that 6 months happened, same year, my dad passed away.
Yeah, dude, I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, I mean, it's better. I look at it as that he's out of pain. You know,
right.
He's passed on. He's no longer bound by earthly pains and sorrows.
Right, absolutely.
And so my biggest thing is, especially the one thing that I've noticed just looking at bands, because I didn't really think about fully doing the music stuff, at least not the metal side of it. Before I was actually an acoustic singer-songwriter, like indie.
Oh, okay,
indie style.
cool. Yeah.
And so I was just kind of like trying to figure out what I was doing, and then I met our drummer, who was also stationed at the exact same duty station.
Yeah.
Funniest thing about that story is that me and him had the exact same recruiter. There's photos of us together before we went to basic. We were friends on Facebook before we actually even knew each other.
That's so funny.
And so we're sitting there drunk one night meeting each other, and he's like, well, let's do this. Let's start a band. I'm like, okay, cool. What kind of music do we like? And we were all like, well, rock, metal, Led Zeppelin, all this kind of like,
yeah.
like, okay, so metal. And so I was looking at a lot of what the bands were doing in the scene, or a lot of like the bigger bands and what they're doing. And I was like, what happened to bands talking about like the real shit,
right?
Like shit that's actually going on, or like just truly being honest and about the true art form of it. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. So everything I write is, it might not be my own story, but if I'm scrolling through Facebook, because we have a few songs that I've just scrolling through Facebook, and someone was just telling their own life story about something, and I was
sharing their trauma.
And so we have a song called Depressor that's about someone I know they don't know about it. The person that I wrote the song about doesn't know that I wrote the song. I don't want them to know, because I didn't do it for that reason. I did it because I read their story. It made me feel something, and I wrote about it.
Okay, yeah.
And so a lot of my stuff comes from that, where I just either see a story, or I'll just be feeling my own things and just write from there, where it's just, to me, it's just the most honest way I can be true to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, for sure. Because like, for me, at least right now, when we're writing music and when I'm like sitting down and writing lyrics, is like, I've been through a lot in my life, you know, and I start to kind of reflect and look back, and I'm like, I kind of relive those feelings and relive those moments, which I later found out from a therapist that's called PTSD, which I had no idea about until I was much older. But I wrote a lot of the songs that we write are just about a lot of my own personal experiences with things and like
and then
feelings.
Have you found like a kind of like a sense of closure after?
Yeah,
writing?
it's very
same.
cathartic. Yeah, it's a very cathartic feeling when I decide to like sit down and write about specifically what I'm
helps
feeling.
You process and just like actually finally understand what everything going. Yeah, exactly. That's also part of why I want to do it that way. Is I don't really. The therapists that I've dealt with weren't always the best, and just from talking to different people, and when I was in college, psychology is a big thing for me. Writing was always something that to write out your feelings, just talk to yourself or write yourself a letter kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense to me. And so I started doing it the one day, and I'm like, dude, I feel so much better. I understand what was going on. I understand, even if I didn't understand the situation, I'm like, just from writing about it, I was like, okay, this is what happened.
Yeah, because I have a little notebook that I sit on my nightstand by my bed. That way, if it's like, if I call it brain vomit, where it's just like, it's not cohesive thoughts at all. It's just feelings and like just words jumbled in your head. And I just write it down just over and over.
That's smart.
And it helps me a lot too, because, you tend to get stuck in your own head and kind of spiral. With me doing that, it prevents me from spiraling, and that way I can just be like, okay, this is just a word vomit. It's not that bad. Like it
helps you instead of everything just kind of like being like focused in your head. You can let it out, and so I'll come back to this. I don't have to focus or worry about this right now. But
exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
good for you. That's awesome.
Thank you, man. It's the best way that I found that I could do it. But there's also times where like I can just sit down and write lyrics in general. Like it took me not even a full day to write our song called Blur. It didn't even take me a full day to write that, because
Flow state.
Flow state. I was listening to the instrumental, and I'm like it was in the groove, and I was like, okay, what does this song remind me of? Because that's what I always do with instrumentals that we write is like, what is this?
What's the feeling?
What is this feeling? Yeah, like, and it's not all just me. I also kind of try to write about like the other guys in the band too, because we've all been through some shit. You know what I mean? So the song Blur, that first song, it literally feels like a blur when we're playing it. So I kind of wrote that about just like we wanted to make that song fun, and originally that was just gonna be an improv song.
Hell yeah.
Where I was just gonna improv lyrics on top of it. But
you ever do that when you forget them?
Oh, dude, yeah,
I do it
all the time.
That's the best part about being a metal vocalist is that I forgot these words. Let's just scream random noises. I do that all the time.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Our first like 5 shows, I'm like, fuck, I don't remember what the fuck I'm saying.
Yeah, and have you ever had times where like you practice what you're gonna say on stage?
I constantly. That's the only way I have to sketch out, prep, and prepare. Like I watch a lot of comedy podcasts, so I take a lot of notes from how comedians do their stuff, and so like you said, with how you have that journal next to you where you just jumble out like your thoughts.
Right.
If I have an idea for a show, I have to have a notebook so I don't forget it.
Nice.
And so I constantly allow myself to just keep that creative flow going, and so I'm always sketching the speech I give for 15. That's the speech I give for 15.
Yeah.
That's something I figured out from like one of the first few shows. I'm like, okay, this sounds dope. This is what works. Gets people pumped. I'm like, I am not changing it.
Right. Yeah.
And so I always try to I'll try to think, what's this song about? What story is it telling? If it is telling a story, or if this is just about a feeling, like our song Self-Medicate. There's not really a full-on story behind that song, but it's mostly about rejecting modern medicine and saying that like I don't agree with just forcing pills down people's throats.
Yeah, I don't agree
because
with
when
that
I went to the VA to try to get some help for my mental stuff when I first came back, the first thing they did was they did have a conversation with me about just seeing where I was at, and then because I mentioned the thought of wanting to take medicine, like pills and medicine and stuff like that. Like, okay, yeah, we'll get you scheduled to... Well, no, yeah, they scheduled me to meet up with whoever their doctor was that does all the prescribing, and she gave me a menu, an actual, like, laminated, like this, laminated sheet of what the pills are that I could choose from, what they do, and she literally asked me, which ones do you want to test out? Which ones do you want to try? I'm like...
Dude, that's so fucked.
And so all the ones that I knew of that like really messed you up, I was like, I don't want to do those. I want to stay... What is your most newest kind of, like, safest kind of thing? And which was... It was... I can't remember what the medicine was, but even that kind of made me feel like a zombie. And I was already kind of smoking weed from just living out in Seattle before I left. Yeah. And then just because my knees, my body's kind of messed up. So it helps with a lot of that. And I noticed that when I was smoking, I felt so much clearer, better than I ever did when I was in the medicine. And I'm a big believer in every person in their life at some point needs a psychedelic trip.
Oh, for sure.
And so like I did one once, and then everything came clear, and I was like, what the hell is this? And so we wrote Self-Medicate, which is definitely heavily inspired with like Pink Floyd kind of feeling.
Yeah, that's the kind of vibes I thought with it. And
it's all talking about like you don't have to rely on modern medicine or what modern physicians say. There's many of old holistic ways that you can treat yourself that are just natural plants or herbs or whatever it may be for your case that will do the exact same, and most of the time it does more for you. Yeah,
and for me, like, I never took any sort of medications. I'm kind of against it.
That's awesome,
I've always been kind of against it because, like, I grew up in... I didn't have a necessarily rough childhood, but I did watch a lot of people struggle with, like, opiate addiction. And that just steered me away from...
A lot of part of what kind of, like, fed it for me, too, is that I've seen a lot of my friends or people that I knew, like, in my own times in high school, there was times where I was messing around with Adderall or doing stupid shit like that. And I'm like, I know what that felt like back then. I don't want to do this again.
Yeah. And for me now that it's so funny too, because I didn't start like smoking weed until I was like 18. Okay. I didn't start messing around with it because when I was younger than that, I was that kid that was strictly like nothing. I was the same way, dude. No drugs at all. Before I left, I was like, I tried it one time. I was like, I don't like the way this made me feel lazy. This made me feel bad. I was like, I didn't do anything the weekend that I did it the one time. I was like, I don't want to do this ever again. Joined the army. Life got, Yeah. And I was like, I'm smoking. Yeah. And I found, because now I'm more like frequent smoker nowadays. At least of weed. I don't do any like nicotine really anymore. Like I used to.
I've been trying. I've been thinking, tossing the ideas of quitting nicotine forever. It's just, this is one of those things that is hard. It's mostly for me. It's mostly like, that's why I vape, is mostly for the flavor, and then just that addiction of being able to like take a drag or something like that.
Yeah, it's the hand to mouth like transfer. It's muscle memory, so that kind of translates to it. And that's how I was with, because I used to smoke cigs. So, and that was me. It would be like, man, I could really use a cig, and just like it would chill me out for a little bit, and then I realized like this is just not good for my health. Like, because I was coughing, I would be waking up and feeling like shit. Like, I feel like I can't breathe.
Remember, I always did like the days where like the first 2 days after you stop smoking, you can breathe again. Your heart feels relaxed. Yeah,
and you don't feel like, you know, your lungs are going to collapse at any moment.
After every show, I'm like, I'm so out of breath because I'm like, I don't work out. Besides
same.
A little bit of like stuff I do at work. And then I'm just like, I'm out of breath. I'm like, man, I need to quit smoking because this ain't helping at all. And then I'll go outside and take a couple hits. I'm like, I feel better.
Yeah, because I quit smoking cigs when I turned 22.
Oh, yeah. Congrats.
Thanks. I take good pride in that, because
awesome, yeah,
being a vocalist, you know, I do take vocal health very serious. So like
I've been thinking when it comes to like the weed side of it, I'm like I might need to start switching to like gummies or something like that, because I smoke a lot, and I'm like, it does, as much as I want to ignore like that, maybe that the burning of a throat feel, I'm like, that doesn't last for longer than the time I feel it. I'm like, no, it's definitely doing something to my cords.
You definitely feel it. And again, I still smoke weed still, but it's like, for me, I am also a person who just prefers the gummies if we have them, but if we don't, I'm perfectly content with smoking. It's just usually if we have a show coming up, I always take a week off from smoking just so my body can like heal it up a bit and I can just chill. And then afterwards, I just go like right back to it, unless we have like another show.
I probably should do that, but I do the complete opposite. If you ever want to smoke before a show, come find me. I have like one of everything on me.
Hell yeah.
When we played Summit Fest last year, I had my entire trailer set up with a table in it, and my rolling tray, my grinder, my bong. Nice. I had everything set up to whatever we want. Want a joint? I can roll a joint.
Yeah, I got you.
Want to hit the bong? Let's go.
That's what I love about like today's society nowadays, is like weed is so normal.
December 7th is my new holiday. It's my new official holiday for Ohio. I love it. It's amazing.
It's gonna be great. It's just I just find it so funny, because like growing up, it's like weed is bad and does all these awful things for you, and it's
like,
all
failed the DARE program.
Yeah, and it's like my mom and my stepdad smoked weed, so it was like, I don't see a problem with it, but I was just never that kid that took part until I was like 18. I was like, all right, cool. I'm kind of down for it.
Which honestly, it's smarter for it, because one of the things I felt like for me wise is I partied kind of hard growing up, and I feel like I partied too much to where I'm like, I don't really want to do anything now. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm 23.
Yeah, I'm 24.
I should be going out and like partying on the weekends. I'm like, nah, I'd rather stay home and go read one of my books.
Yeah, no, that's kind of how I am. Like me and my boyfriend, we're kind of shut-ins.
Same, man. We besides if we don't have a show, we don't go out.
Yeah, unless it's like very rare occasion, like if I want to go see my family or something. But it's even then, that's still pretty rare.
Yeah.
But like my boyfriend and I, we just go to work, and then we come home, smoke weed, and just go to bed.
That's my favorite.
And I play video games too.
That's my favorite day. Is I'll come home, and I always get off before her. So I'll come home, I let the dog out. While I let the dog out, I smoke, and then when she's done doing what she's got to do, I'll go upstairs. I'll play video games till 5 until she gets home, and I'm like, all right, it's time to go to bed.
Yep. Yeah, because like with my boyfriend and I, we both work relatively the same schedule.
That's dope.
Sometimes he'll be home before I am, or vice versa, and depending on who's home, we'd usually like pack each other a bowl, and man, that way it's just ready for whenever we get home.
She normally knows to come find me out in the back patio. If I'm not in the room, I'm out in the back patio, either rolling or grinding.
Yeah, makes sense, because like in our apartment, we just sit on the floor and just like, it's kind of like a whole vibe.
Hell yeah, that's
like
dope.
We just sit on the floor and we just talk about our days while we're just like grinding weed and go smoke and shit. Like it's a good time.
That's how it should be, though. That's one of the big things I like to talk about with like Carry Me wise is it's don't forget, because people I think a lot of times get stuck on just trying to focus on this career that they gotta make, that they gotta be this most successful person and make all this. I'm like, that ain't gonna follow you
Right.
when you're older and got nothing else to do. Like, the only thing that's gonna follow you is the memories you make right now.
Yep.
Take the time and spend it with the people you wanted to be with, and just hang out, and don't like quit the whatever your differences may be is your differences, but
Right.
just hang out and vibe and enjoy each other, and just take in the moments, because before you know it, tomorrow might not be here.
Right, and that's kind of how I take it, especially when we're doing shows and stuff. Like, you see me hardly ever on my phone. It's just because I want to be in that moment and just enjoy it. So it doesn't matter what band or who we're with. It's just like, I'm just here to have a good time.
Oh yeah,
it's
a party for me. It's
yeah, it's just so fun to, like, especially meet new people.
that's my favorite part.
It's yeah, because like at first our band is kind of like nervous to talk to new people because we're still kind of new to the scene, but
that's the thing you got to do. Remember,
yeah, we
go
just
up and shake people's hands, be like, thank you for coming here. Like, you might not know who I am, but like, thank you for coming here. I appreciate you. Like, then they're like, oh, which band are you? I'm like,
Right.
oh, I'm so and so. He's like, well, when do you guys go on? He's like, oh, we go on this time. You guys are gonna love it. And then that's the part though. When you say that, then you got to go and kill it. But that also now motivates you. Hey, homie right here in the front, he knows I'm about to kill it, so I gotta kill it for homie right here.
Yeah, and for us, it's like every time we play a show, it doesn't matter how we're feeling, unless it's like, you know what I mean? Like, if we're just like coughing with pneumonia and shit.
Slowly dying.
Just,
keep going. You guys got it.
We go 110% every show.
That's awesome. And it shows. It shows.
Yeah.
I mean, I love watching you guys play.
Thank you, man. I enjoy watching you guys play too, because you guys it feels like you guys are always like in the pocket. Like, like you're just in it.
We do a lot of improvising. That's how we do a lot of our writing. So if we do mess up, it typically just, we're going to go this way for a little bit.
Yeah, right. And I mean, that shit's still cool.
Thank you.
I think personally for me, 15 is probably my favorite song from you guys.
Thank
Realistically.
you.
It's just because it's so real. You know what I mean? Like, it's so raw and real to me.
Thank you.
Where I'm just like, I relate super hard to this.
That's warms my heart, because that's exactly what I wanted from it.
Yeah, because it's like, I've definitely met a lot of people who have, they're not here anymore.
Yeah.
And it sucks, and it's hard to be on Earth while they're, off in the stars somewhere, and you miss them. But at the same time, it's like, it was probably, they were in a lot of pain. So, they're probably free from that now.
Exactly. One of my favorite quotes is "Gone are my earthly sorrows and pains."
That's a good one. It's just that song I really relate to. And
thank you.
It's funny when we were talking about the speech thing and how it's all planned out is, with our song Ignite, that we typically play that, but at the Valentine's Day show we didn't get to play that one because it's a longer song and we knew we didn't have much time. So we had to cut that one, and we play the Body Snatcher cover, which is a song called 1217. It's one of my favorite fucking covers we play.
Fuck
yeah, dude, it's so good.
Fuck yeah.
But we had to cut those songs out, and we were gonna cut one more if we just felt like we didn't have time, but we were going through the set pretty quick, so I was like, all right, we can just keep it. Yeah. We're good. But usually with that song Ignite, I make myself vulnerable in that position because I kind of talk about myself a little bit and like my backstory with like mental health and stuff. And that song is meant to be for people who feel like they've got nowhere to go, or like they feel like they just don't have that fire like they did once in their life. And hopefully, like, the way I look at it is like, hopefully people will vibe with it, and maybe they'll start thinking about it, being like, maybe I'll pick up, like that guitar again, or maybe I'll start making art.
Hell yeah,
again.
That's awesome.
Kind of like reignite that flame within themselves.
Cool.
That's why the song's called Ignite.
That's awesome. Hell yeah.
That's kind of like our motivational song. And when we originally wrote it, it was just dead space. There was nothing but in the beginning. It was just the intro riff with a delay on it. And my drummer actually had the idea. He's like, why don't you do like a little speech or something on top of it? And I was like, actually, you're not wrong. I'd actually be fine with that. And
that's so cool.
Yeah. So,
we created it's like a 2-minute long, not even a song. It's a poem I wrote. And because we were thinking a similar idea where it's like, why don't, because we like, there's one of our ideas we've been playing with that we're eventually going to be able to pull off is just having a random, no, it's not an actual song. It's just a part of the set where we just start jamming and just go fully improv. Whatever the fuck happens, it's going to go crazy.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And we started kind of playing with it in like towards the ending of our songs where like our breakdowns are. We like to improv within the breakdown and just see where that happens with it.
Yeah.
But our drummer was like, why don't we do just like kind of like a spoken word thing? I was like, that'd be cool. It's different.
It's different.
And
it's
cool.
cool.
I was like, what kind of idea do you think? He's like, I don't like anything. It could be like poem or something, like a speech. We could do a sample or something. I was like, well, I just wrote this poem like 2 days ago. Like, I think this might be perfect for it. And we tested it, and we put a single guitar riff over it. With the recording has nothing else in it, but the live has drums and bass with it.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those kind of moments where you're just like, let's just try this.
Yeah. And that's the thing with music is that, like, that's what I love about music is that you just try all these different things and see what sticks. And
it's definitely one of the more, like, most freely creative, I think, mediums for art. And there's so much you can try to express with.
Oh, for sure. And that's why, like, that's why I enjoy, like, writing lyrics and stuff now is not only is it cathartic, but it's also like I can express myself in this particular art form without necessarily the fear of being judged on it or like critiqued too much. Because I love just art in general.
Same, yeah.
I've always been like big with making art or, you know, making music, which is a type of art form, or even movies. I think making movies and videos is an art form in itself. And because
I've written full on freaking like movie.
Oh yeah,
fucking scripts for our music videos.
Yeah.
I take that stuff so seriously.
Right? Yeah,
it's so much fun.
It is. It's so fun, especially when you can put your own little fun twist on it, on the whole idea of the movie.
And like, I think one of the things that I always like kind of like catch myself on is I'll get in my own head and like, oh, this isn't good enough because it doesn't sound like such and such. I'm like, stop.
I'm the same way.
Stop, because guess what? Because that's the other part where it's like it's so freeing because like I get to do it however which way I want, and whoever says, "Oh, you're not doing it the right," I'm like, "No, I'm just doing it my way."
Exactly.
And that to me, every time I like remind myself of that, everything just starts going back into that like that flow state where I'm just like, okay, fuck whatever's in my head. I'm just like, let's keep going. We're in the right direction. Just screw my head. Don't listen to it. It's gonna tell you not to do this. The more it tells me not to do it, the more I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, and with the way we write, you know, people are like, "Man, what kind of genre are you?" And I just say we're a heavy band. Just because, like, we're not necessarily, like, a deathcore band. We're not necessarily a hardcore band. But it's, like, we just write heavy music.
So that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Because I couldn't distinguish fully. I was like, they sound hardcore. But then there's times where it's death. And I'm like, but it's dope. And I'm like, fuck, which genre fucking is this?
It's, for us, we don't have any limits on ourselves.
That's awesome.
You know, because we don't want to stick to one genre because we all come from different backgrounds.
Dude, that's
like
perfect. That's awesome.
Like my guitarist, he listens to a lot of Meshuggah. He listens to a lot of bands like that, or
Technical,
a lot of hardcore. Yeah, like tech, like tech death or tech metal in general. Like he's just a monster when it comes to that.
That's fucking sweet.
And our bassist, he's more of like the new metal, all about like Slipknot and shit like that, which I think is fucking dope. And then our drummer comes from like more of a metalcore background or more technical side of things, like Alluvial. I don't know if you're dude, fucking he's the one that got me into Alluvial, and I'm like, dude, that's so dope.
That's awesome. That's one of the things that I was thinking about coming into the scene was like, because before we left, because me and Tim left around the same time to go join the army,
right?
There wasn't really much going on in the scene. I'd never really heard of like local shows going on growing up. I actually never went to a local show until I went to my own local show.
Right.
Well, no, that's not true. Because we spent the whole first year before we started playing shows, we went to local shows just to meet bands and just meet people.
Just to kind of network and hang out. Yeah.
But no,
I should have done that.
That's how we met Brian. Was just us going to you know the band Let Them Divide?
Yes.
They're good buddies of mine. I grew up with most of them, and so they had a show at Mercury in Lakewood, and I was like, "Hey, you want to go to the show? My buddy's band's playing." He's like, "Yeah, sure." And then Tim was outside smoking, and he came back in. He's like, "Hey, you should go talk to this guy over here. The sound guy is messing up, and they're looking for someone else." And I'm like, "Oh, perfect," because I was working at a studio at the time. So I walked over. I was like, "Hey, I work at the studio that's right down the road here. Like, do you want me to go take over sound?" He's like, "Yes, please."
Oh, nice.
And so I took over sound, and that's how me and Brian became friends.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Because, like, I've always wondered because you guys seem like you were close, like
Yeah.
in the group
Or
chats and
Brian.
stuff that we've been in with, and I'm just like, how are you so close? Because I'm always so curious on
Yeah,
how
I've
other
known
people
Brian
meet.
for almost 3 years now.
Oh no
3 years,
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because for us, we just kind of bursted onto the scene. That was kind of our whole plan.
It's the smart, yeah. It's
That
the
was our
smart way.
plan, was like just to book a show and just go from there. And
So that's what we did, because our first show was the Valentine's Day show last year.
yeah.
So and that's exactly what we did. That's the smart way to do it. It's a great marketing plan. It's just kind of like, hey, hi, it's a
Right.
party.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a whole fucking party up in here, and people just never heard of us
Yeah.
before. So it's like,
So the curiosity.
Yeah.
Yep.
and I always love getting the compliments. Like, I'm really hard with taking compliments. Like, I don't take them very well.
I never believe them. I'm like, you're
Yeah,
lying.
I don't either, but it's
because
like,
what I heard is completely different. What the hell you just
yeah,
described.
exactly. But I'm trying to get better with it. But it is really nice to hear people be like, "Dude, you guys were fucking sick," and it's just super nice. And how we've been told by other bands, like other homies of ours, like in Midwinter, like I think it was their guitarist. I think it was him, and he was like, "Dude, if you guys had music out, like." On Spotify, you'd probably sound exactly like the record. Like no
Fuck yeah, that's
differences at
awesome.
all.
That's awesome.
And I took that as a huge compliment, because he's like, you guys just sound so tight, and you guys sound like you're just in it and just having a good time. And I'm like, that's kind of our goal, man. Like, we're just here to have
That's
fun.
awesome.
Because it's like, we are taking the band serious, but we're not gonna let it take. Like, we're not going to let everything just kind of make it everything serious. Like, we're here to have fun, too.
Exactly. At the end of the day, that's how I've always looked at things. At the end of the day, I'm here for fun. Business time is when business time, but if it's not
Right.
business time, I don't care. Like,
Right,
I'm here to
and-
party and have fun.
Right, exactly. Like, if I'm there at the venue and people want to talk to me, I'll fucking talk to you until it's
Yeah.
time for me to go up. And even after that, I'll probably come down and talk to you, because at that point, I just want to hang out with people, and meet new people.
That's all I want to do. Is just that's part of why I started this as well. Is that there's people I haven't gotten to talk to yet, and I just want to talk to you. I
Yeah,
want
for
to have
sure.
conversations. If you don't know something I don't know, let's talk.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't know where this was going to go with the podcast, because I've never really been a part of one. Like, I've tried to start a couple
Hell yeah.
in the past, but they just like fell through, just people change
yeah.
or want to do different things, and that's cool. But to just actually like be here and sit here and like talk to you, it really does. Like, when you were texting me, you were like, I want to treat this like just having a conversation with a homie.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it feels like. I'm sitting here and I'm just like, dude, I feel like I've known you for ages. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Yeah. So it's just cool. But yeah, like I don't know. It's just cool to be here.
Thank you for coming. I was always nervous going on the podcast, and I never knew why. I always felt like I was gonna say something stupid, or I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna sound right, or I hate the sound of my voice, or something so
Yeah.
stupid and insecure. And as soon as it starts going, I'm like, okay, this is fun. This is
Yeah.
it's easy.
It's like a flow state.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I'm feeling too. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
was
Thank you.
nervous to kind of be on here, and I was like, yeah, it's all right. Like, I'll be fine.
Dude, the fact I can't believe you drove that far. I thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming on, dude. It's
Yeah, of course, no problem.
So-
Because sorry, go ahead.
You're good.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I just think it's cool. So I mean, it's kind of worth it. Plus, I really dig what you guys do.
Oh, thank you,
So
thank you.
when you were like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this podcast," and I was like, "I'm down,"
Fuck it. No, that the amount of engagement that post got,
Dude,
blew
yeah,
me away.
it's nuts.
And it's still getting engagement. So there's I think there's still like 30 people I gotta go and message still.
Wow, nice,
Yeah, there's so much.
nice. That's
It's so much.
awesome.
Yeah, I blew me away. I did not expect, especially with like the kind of like the topics that I want to talk about, or just
Yeah.
like the stuff that I'm interested in. I'm like, not everyone's gonna be like down for that, or like think I'm just gonna be some crazy person, because
Yeah.
I love all things paranormal, aliens,
Dude, same.
cryptids.
Yeah,
I've
same.
had my own experiences.
Same, yeah.
We just had someone on that we literally just had him pull out his devices before the guest I had on before, and they started going off. Like
That's
the
so
REM
cool.
pod, like you ever seen what a REM pod is?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, so it's just sitting on my table, and then we're just talking, and it goes bleep. I'm like,
Oh wait, what?
and my dog was underneath it, so I'm like, oh, that was just Nova. So I totally let it blow by, and he's like, well, did you see that? I'm like, yeah, I just thought it was Nova. He's like, no. He puts his hand under it, and I was like, you have to be like pretty much.
You have to
right
be
on.
like right on it.
I'm like, dude, wait, what the heck?
Yeah,
And then
it's
so we turned on
cool.
a spirit box, and I'll show you afterwards. It's like a 7-minute video, but it's at the end of towards the end of the video before I turn it off, it literally like screamed at us, "Get out!"
Oh shit. Dude, that's always so
it was
freaky.
insane, and this house is got a lot of crazy stories because I call it the Ohio's version of the Amityville house.
Oh shit.
So the story that I've been told is that the original owner, when he bought the house, he had his whole family, and then went crazy one day, killed his family, and then hung himself in the garage.
Dude, that's heavy.
Yeah, it's a crazy story.
Yeah.
And then randomly happenstance, we met the dude's sister.
Oh,
And so we know what the person's name was that previously owned the house. And there's been a lot of crazy stories. Our drummer Tim, he slept on that couch before and woke up to something trying to choke him.
Oh shit.
My mom's got a bunch of crazy stories. I've seen people walking in the halls. We've seen people like crazy like shadow figures out in the woods, and this house has got a bunch of crazy stories.
Yeah, no kidding.
Watching those things go off, I'm like, oh, that confirms that I'm moving out.
Yeah, dude, I feel that because I have a few of my own personal stories with like, and it was always just so freaky to me because I was homeschooled for a couple years.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you ever remember like ECOT. You ever
Yeah.
seen like ads? Yeah. We did that for
Okay.
like 2 years. Fucking hated it. It was awful.
That's why I'm so glad I did not go to school during the coronavirus. I would not have been able to
Me
focus.
too. My sister, I felt so bad for my sister because she was like 2 grades below me. Even though we're 10 months apart.
Okay.
Yeah. But
It's weird how school years line up like that, right?
well,
one friend that's like-
originally she was the year below me, but she got held back when she was a kid because she was having problems with like reading and stuff, and we found out she has dyslexia. So after she got that all taken care of, it was much easier for her. But she had to deal with the whole, being out of school during Corona, and she was going to vocational, yes.
That's what I went to. So I went to vocational school.
Yeah, she went to vocational school. I did too. I went for IT,
Nice.
and then she went for cosmetology.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
it was pretty cool.
I always try to promote blue collar trades or just going into
Oh
the trades.
yeah,
It's-
dude.
it's
Because
the way to go.
those are jobs that are never gonna
leave. They're always got good paying. It's
Oh,
exactly. And you don't need and the one thing you don't need is to waste your time going to a 4-year degree.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's kind of how I feel about it. Where I'm like, I could go to any IT job and work it. I just don't want to.
That's how I was for the longest time. I did not want to go back into my trade because it's just the hours never typically work when you're trying to do music.
Yeah.
And then I found the one shop that has the gloriness of amazing hours. I
Nice.
literally set my own hours.
Nice. That's
the
awesome.
Perfect way.
That's
It's
awesome.
like, hey, we need you here for 8 hours mandatory. Whenever you come in, don't care. And if as long as it's 8 hours, after that, I don't care when you leave.
Right.
So I just show up, and then if I want to leave, I'm like, I don't say a single thing to anybody. I just walk out the door.
Oh, nice.
It's so nice.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah. To go back on that, me and my sister were being homeschooled, and I want to say we were like 12, but like 4 years prior to that, we called him Papa.
Mm-hmm.
He was my grandpa, but he always said he was too young to be a grandpa. He was that kind of dude. I miss him to death. I love him, but he passed away of cancer, and a couple years later, my mom gets into a situation where her and my stepdad had like kind of split up, and then she was with another guy. He was okay. He put us in a home where we weren't homeless or anything.
Had a roof, yeah.
Yeah. We had a roof over our heads, and we were doing homeschooling for a couple years, and I can't remember. I think it was it's so tough. Either way, I think we were on our lunch break. I think it was lunch. And we were just kind of sitting, me and my sister were sitting on the couch, just eating our lunch, and my mom was sitting on the chair, and it's just us. It's just us in the house. And all of a sudden, on my sister's, her setup, because they, like, send you computers and, like, a whole monitor and stuff.
I always wondered about that, if they sent you actually.
Yeah, they send it to you. And then whenever you are out of homeschool or whatever, they will.
back.
Yeah, you just send it back.
Okay.
And it's not that big of a deal. But it's so weird because, like, taking your state testing, you have to go to, like, a random
different,
area,
like,
a
okay,
whole
yeah.
different building to go do it rather than be in school and do it. But we we were just chilling, eating lunch, and just out of nowhere, my sister's mouse just started moving. Yeah, dude, it was nuts. On the screen, the cursor was like moving back and forth, and we're
crazy,
kids,
yeah.
it's kind of like freaky. We're like, what is happening? And my mom, bless her heart, she was, we always like watch paranormal shows like Ghost Adventures and
Love
Ghost
those
Hunters
shows,
and shit.
yeah.
Dude, I love Ghost Adventures.
Still watch. That's all I watch at night when I'm I go outside
Yeah.
to smoke before I go to bed. I'm watching the Overnight Channel.
Yeah.
You ever watch them?
No.
If you like YouTube and like the paranormal ghost hunting, watch Overnight Channel. They're hilarious. They're funny as hell comedy sketches before they do the investigations, but when like they've gotten some crazy evidence.
Yeah, you'll have to send me the name of that
Yeah.
channel, because I'm always like trying to do deep dives into cool stuff
Hell
like
yeah.
that. But anyway, so my mom, bless her heart, she was trying to like calm us down a bit, but she did kind of entertain the idea of someone, messing with it.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, is it someone we know? And it went up and down. And I was like, oh shit. Like as a little kid, I'm like freaking out. And my sister was more freaked out than I was. And she's like, she said something like, are we related? And it shook up and down.
Damn.
And then she said, is this my dad? And it shook up, yes and down.
Damn.
Yeah, up and down.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, whoa, what the fuck?
I had a similar kind of experience with like a relative passing and like kind of like trying to make communications.
Yeah.
We had like a lantern thing because my dad went on hospice in the house, and so he passed away downstairs.
Gotcha.
And right above him, we had this like lamp that had like a police officer holding a lamp kind of thing. And every time at like midnight, which was when my dad passed away, that lamp would turn on
No kidding.
on its own.
That's
It was
crazy.
crazy, yeah.
Dude, yeah, that would freak me out.
Oh yeah,
Dude,
yeah. That lamp's not up there no more. We moved it.
yeah, I
It
bet.
kept freaking us out.
Yeah, I bet. And there was even time, like, even when I was even younger, because I'm a firm believer in that kids, because they're not fully developed, that they can see
Well, they're
stuff.
more open to it.
Yeah,
So their eyes are allowed. They allow themselves to just kind of be. Well, the way I look at it is mostly like, how like kids always have that like that fantasy or that the invisible friend. I'm like, because of
imaginary friend.
Yeah, because of
quote
that
unquote.
thought process, I think that's what allows them to open themselves up.
Yeah,
to just
absolutely.
being able to witness, or not only just open to the experiences of whatever.
Yeah, dude, and that's kind of how I think about it too, because I had an experience as a kid where I don't know why it was the most random thing, and I think it was like I woke up at like 5 or 6 in the morning, and I looked out my window, and that was around the time that I was like 7, I think. I can't remember. I was a little kid, and I opened my window. Something told me to like open my window, and I saw it was the garbage man. Typical dude, just doing his thing, taking the garbage, putting it in the back of the truck, whatever. But I saw like this figure, like this. It was just legs. Like there was nothing about it. It was just legs, and it was just kind of walking up to the garbage truck, and as it was pulling away, it just like hopped into the back end and disappeared.
Damn,
I never saw it ever again after that.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was weird. I'd never seen anything like that.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
I think I got something that's close to that. We were I was hanging out with my cousin. And you ever take pennies and put out pennies on the train tracks to flatten them?
Yeah.
So we were doing that, and then we saw kids down the way on the train tracks, but like more like not near the road. So it was just like, how like sometimes there'll be like tree line,
Yeah.
and then like the little mound that the tracks are on.
Yep.
So they were just standing over there, and there's a train coming. So we're like, oh shit, well we got to put these pennies down and get the fuck out the way.
Right.
And so we're like trying to scream for those kids, like, hey, there's a train coming, trying to let them know, like, hey, get out of the way so you don't get hit. Well, they never moved from what we saw.
Oh,
And so
shit.
the train goes past. They weren't on the tracks. They were next to them.
Yeah.
But I think we were 9, 10. So we were old enough to know that if you're close to the trains, they could suck you in.
Yeah, because
And
it
so-
creates like a whole vacuum
Yeah.
of how fast they're going.
And so I'm like, these kids just got gnarled up. They just got
We just
eaten
watched
by-
some kids die.
Yeah. And so we're like, what happened? So the train goes past. It's clear. It's safe. We walk down there. There's nothing. No remnants
Yeah.
of anything. We didn't see them walking past. We didn't see any like people walking or the brush moving. They were just gone. Disappeared.
That's insane.
It was. We're like, you saw that, right? Like, we both were like
Right.
questioning, like, you saw them, right? I'm
Right,
like,
yeah.
all right. Then we were just walking down the road, like, you saw them, right? He's like, yes, I saw them.
Well, yeah, and it's like, yes, I did. Now shut the fuck up.
I was like, that's fucking creepy.
Yeah, it is. That's creepy, dude. Because man, there's also been times where like I've gotten like ghost calls, I guess you could call them, where it's like it would show up as the caller ID of the person who had passed.
Okay, that's crazy.
Like my ex-girlfriend at the time, her mom passed away, and shortly after everything was said and done, she got a call from her mom. Yeah. She didn't answer it, but she's like, that's sketchy.
That's creepy.
Because the police had taken her phone.
Yeah.
So why would they be trying to contact her through her mom's phone? That's kind of messed up. You know what I mean? And we found out shortly after that her younger brother, got the same thing a couple hours later. And again, he didn't answer. It was only one time.
That's
and
so
we're
creepy.
I think the way we kind of hypothesized about it is that maybe it was her mom trying to be like goodbye and say bye for one last time, because her death was very sudden.
Okay.
It just kind of happened out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it was very devastating. So it was weird to see that.
Yeah, that would like.
Yeah.
It trips me out when other people like accidentally call a past person's like phone. Like it's like when my dad passed, like people that didn't know yet would text his phone or call him, and I'm like, ain't answer him.
Right.
And I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, why are you still calling? Like, how do you guys not know? Like, it's all over.
It's
Blah, blah,
everywhere.
blah. It's everywhere.
Right. It's everywhere. Like it's in obituaries.
Funny story. This is
okay.
morbid but funny.
Okay.
It's on the topic.
I'm all about dark humor, so
it's on the topic of being called or calling the dead. We were going on to it was back when I was in the Army. We were going out for a training exercise, and the weekend before we left, a person that was supposed to be on training exercise committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
And so everything happens over the weekend. Training's still going on because we were attached to a separate unit for that training, so it was still happening. We get on the bus. They're doing roll call. They're calling out people's names.
Right.
And they get to his name. Nothing. It's quiet. And they go, blah, 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 so-and-so here. And I'm like, just being the fucked up dick that I am, I go, if he shows up, I'm getting off the bus. And they're like, what do you mean? Where is he at? And then we're all like, do we tell them? Like, how do they not know? And so there's like
you would
four.
think that they would know.
You'd think they would have let the unit that they were going to go train with, because he was on that list.
Right.
To know, they're like, hey, this person's not going to be there. And so we're like, do we tell them? And then like the dude's getting pissed. He's like, where the fuck is he?
Yeah.
And we're all like, fuck it. He's dead.
Right.
He's like, what the fuck do you mean? And we're like, he's dead. He's like, what do you mean he's dead? I'm like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Start going off on him, and he's just like, ugh. I'm like, how do they not know?
Right.
But no, the whole funny part was just the fact that I'm like, yeah, if he gets on, I'm getting off.
Yeah.
He's not here.
If he gets on, it's over. I'm out.
off.
I'm going out the back. Like I'm
He's not
leaving.
supposed to be here.
That's fucked up, but I get it. I totally get it.
Hey man, you gotta find the light in the darkness.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's where usually that's how I cope with a lot of things, is usually like humor. For example,
It's the best way too.
Yeah, like for example, when my ex's mom had passed, a couple of months had passed, and I, out of instinct, because we used to say your mom all the time, and she used to think this shit was funny too, because I would be like, yeah, your mom, and she's like, my mom's dead, and just say shit like that, and I'm like, like I would laugh, but I'd also be like, I'm so sorry.
So I did that on purpose to someone one time.
Oh no.
Poor dude. Just met him. It's the first time ever talking to this person.
Oh no.
We're all just hanging out in our break room. We're talking about how old our parents were.
Right.
I was like, oh, my dad graduated in 85. He goes, oh, your dad's old as shit. I was like, I looked him dead in the eyes. I was like, my dad's dead. He's like,
yeah, just the jaw drops.
oh, it was that dude, he felt so bad. We've been best friends ever since. I call him to this day.
That's so funny. I love that.
I am a dark humor person.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. I'm the same way. I've definitely made a lot of dark humor jokes in my life, and I still think they're funny.
My girlfriend's grandmother just passed.
Oh no.
Like recent. And I'm a horrible person. I like to jokingly think in my crazy head that I'm going to eventually one day maybe try comedy.
Okay.
And so like if I'm in an awkward situation where I feel awkward, I'll try and think of jokes.
Yep, same.
And so, I'm at her grandma's funeral. I know nobody besides her direct family, so I'm just feeling awkward.
Right.
Trying to find some way to entertain myself. And I'm like, wait, weren't they like? Because it was an open casket funeral. I'm like, wait, aren't they gonna cremate her? And that's why I asked her sister at the time. I was like, hey, aren't they cremating Jay? And she's like, yeah. I was like, oh, then why don't we call this the roast of Jay?
No,
I said this at the funeral.
No.
She started crying, laughing in her chair. I was like, I before I said anything, I was like, by the way, before I say this, I am sorry if it is offensive. I don't think it is, but let me know if it is.
Yeah, just let me know.
And so I said, and she started crying, laughing. I was like, that's the best joke I've ever thought of.
That's so funny.
It was so bad.
Oh yeah, and
So
that's just a coping mechanism for me. Whenever I'm just like awkward or also just like sad.
Yep.
I think of more like funny things to make fun of, or like myself or whatever. It just makes things a lot better and easier to cope with.
It does, and it helps you healthfully process things.
Yeah, because it's like you're not meaning it in the most malicious way.
You're totally just trying to make the light.
You're trying to make light of the situation.
Yeah.
And that's how I do things too. Like things could be like the darkest it could ever be, but I'll still try my best to make things light.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. I will say, like, to kind of go off topic here, 2020 was a really dark time.
It was. I wrote a lot of stuff during that time.
I did not. I
wrote a lot.
I was probably the most depressed I'd ever been during that time, just because, like, I had been laid off my job at the time, and I just couldn't. I had just literally. Oops, I didn't mean to bump that. I bumped a chord for all you listeners out there. But during COVID and everything getting shut down, I became like a hermit, like genuine hermit. Yeah. Like I never left the house because like I had just gotten a new truck at the time for my job because I was doing tree work.
Okay, yeah.
And I would take a lot of the wood to people that I knew because it's like nobody else is gonna fucking use it. So let me make a little
someone that's gonna use it.
Yeah, exactly. Most of the time I would give it for free, but sometimes if they were giving me a hard time, I'd make them pay for it.
Yeah.
But don't want to talk about that.
We don't got to.
Yeah. But no, in 2020 after I got laid off, I was like, dude, this is awful. And yeah, that was when me and my ex had like taken a break, and we're living in a 4-bedroom apartment with other roommate.
Everything's just kind of like piling on.
Yeah, everything was piling on. Like there was no financial stability there. Like everything was just kind of flip-floppity.
It's insane. I realized it recently myself that it's insane how much that if you're just financially, if something's going kind of askew, it can just throw your mentality to the fucking wind.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's bad. And honestly, I don't like that our society. I have a feeling, or not a feeling. I have my own solution to world peace, and it is get rid of money and go back to the barter trader system.
Okay, I can definitely see that.
So much greed would disappear. So that communities would actually be shaped and actually be a community again.
Yeah, I think so. But to an extent, I think greed will always be a factor. Because, you go to the barter system, people are going to drive a hard bargain. They're going to be like, I don't know. For example, let's go back to like the pigs and cows thing where it's like, okay, well, I'll give you 2 pigs for 1 cow. And they're going to be like, no, this is more prized cow. Like if I'm going to give it to you, I want more. The greed factor still would be there, but it definitely wouldn't be as big of a greed factor as it is now.
And that's where I think a lot of it would help with is like where it's, I can do something for you. So hopefully because I'm able to, like if I do this for you, like the way I look at it, like so if I was going to need help with an electrician and I had a buddy that's an electrician, like, hey, I will pay for the materials.
Yeah.
I'll buy you a beer. Will you come do this for me? Yeah, sure. And 9 times out of 10, my dog's attacking me.
Yeah. It's so cute.
9 times out of 10, they'll typically do the thing, and that's where I think a lot of it comes from me. Is like that if we went back to this barter trade system where we're helping each other, like, hey, I'll do this but I need this.
Yeah.
That's where I think a lot of times the greed will start disappearing and be cut out of a lot of
I
things.
think so. And I think as time would evolve into that, like, because, humans have to evolve and adapt to situations like that, I think it would become less and less greed.
Yeah.
But definitely in the beginning stages, it would be a lot of greed.
There's still be
a lot of
whoever's
greed in that.
the in charge or whatever the case, community wise, and that's the one thing that will never escape is humanity, because we're a tribal culture.
Yeah,
we have to be in a tribe some way, shape, or form. And
yeah,
there's always
tribe.
Going to be the leader, and then the smallest pecking order.
Yep.
It's nothing we'll ever be able to escape. It's just part of our instincts.
Yeah, and the thing is too is that humans are social creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So to go back on like during COVID when everybody was in lockdown and you just couldn't talk to anybody unless it was online, like. You couldn't talk to anybody.
Great for the gaming community.
Oh yeah,
it was a massive boom in gaming from VR.
It was good for like Twitch. It was good for YouTube because people were they had nothing else to do, so they would just make content.
That's honestly what I think. A lot of what's happening in the music scene, a lot of musicians came from the COVID. There was a lot of like, hey, I got nothing else to do. Might as well learn an instrument or learn how to produce. And they're like, hey, I know how to produce now. Might as well record myself.
Yeah, exactly.
And then because of just no one's got no better time than to be on TikTok and social media. That's all we're doing.
Yeah,
but I think it's been kind of a bad thing for the music scene as well. Though.
Yeah, I would
because
say so,
we have
a little bit.
One thing I've noticed is there's a lot of TikTok musicians is what I call them, and where all they do is they'll post a TikTok, but they don't do anything. And then, or if they'll try to, like I've seen a few within just like a couple of the shows where I knew that, hey, this person got their whole start from TikTok. And they do a show and there's nobody there.
That's the thing too, is that I feel like a lot of people misconstrue about TikTok. Like people who get their jump from TikTok or like YouTube or whatever, is they will get all these like likes and comments and followers and stuff, but they won't. The turnout could end up being super low.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's why like a lot of our, you'll see us. We'll take a lot of big breaks from posting on social media. That's because most of the time we're out. Either I'm out or one of us is out trying to just go and talk to people.
Yeah,
and I rather come up face to face and try to sell you a ticket than. Because I know 90% of the people that follow us on social media are either not from this state, so they can't.
Yeah.
Or they're either going to buy. It's easier to buy a ticket online, or it's easier that I've noticed to sell in person than it is trying to sell through social media.
Yeah, and that was kind of a skill I learned earlier on because I was working a marketing job for a while, so I was working at like Sam's Club, BJ's, Costco, and I was I don't know if you've ever been there, but like when you go in and you see the guys at like the kiosk and be like, hey, like how you doing, and they're trying to like sell you like a phone or something. That I used to do that for a little bit, and I learned a lot of skills
and all that kind of stuff.
I learned a lot of skills from that, and I also learned a lot of things about business. So that's why like my guitarist and I are like business partners in our band.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Because I knew I wanted to be more involved with the band. I didn't just want to sit back. I wanted to partake and like learn and be like, what do I do? Like what can I do to make us seem like a band to put on a bill? Make us seem exciting.
And that's one of the things that's hard too, though, with the kind of like speak as devil advocate on, is that like, yes, as much as we'd want to stay away from social media and just meet people face to face, is that it's like a mix of 50-50. You got to do this, but you also got to be on top of social media. And
because if you stop posting on socials, people are going to forget about you.
I don't think they'll forget. It's just there's everything's a number game in the industry.
Okay.
Everything's a number game. So you could have a killer show where you're doesn't matter if the crowd knew you at the beginning or not, but they could love you. You could have back-to-back great shows and have these, you could have no numbers on social media, but you're constantly selling 60, 70, hundreds of tickets at shows. But labels aren't going to know that.
Right.
Because there's not many labels that actually send A&R guys to shows anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty rare.
Everything is looking at what your analytics say on numbers on streams, Spotify, how many follows you got. So that's where I kind of look at it as like, you got to. They're not that they're going to forget about you. You're playing the numbers game. If you're trying to play the sell to a label kind of route, you're playing the numbers game to sell to the label.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, for sure. Because like for us, we're pretty independent. Like, I don't know if we would ever sign to a label. It's in the possibility, but it would have to be the right circumstance.
Exactly. That's how we look at it.
Because we know some homies of ours that have gotten severely screwed over from labels. So we're just, we're very careful about it.
we're signed to a label, and I put quotation marks for those that can't see.
Yeah.
Very firmly.
I think people can assume you were putting air quotes.
So we signed to a label, but it's a very small label, and the only reason we signed to it was there was no like numbers game with it. They weren't really offering us really. The only thing they were offering us was the contacts of every single big label, and I'm like, that's worth it to me.
Okay.
And all they do for us is just free promotion. That's all really it is, and that's the only reason we signed with them was because free promotion.
Okay, that's fair.
We weren't losing anything. We're gaining a little bit, and so that's the only reason we did. But we're probably I think after this year we're dropping them.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Because everything we do is independent. We don't get anything from the label really
Right.
when it comes to anything besides the occasional Facebook post they share.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I think they ended up hitting us up on email
From the depths?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like $100 to get on their roster. They'll put you on their Spotify playlist. They'll give you the contacts for every A&R rep, email, phone number for the US and the UK. But that side's worth it. But outside of that, they will occasionally share your posts, and they have a lot of followers, but they don't have much engagement. So it doesn't do too much for you. It's just I looked at it as like it's worth it for the contacts.
For the contacts,
and if you want the contacts, I can give you the contacts. I have them on my computer.
Oh, cool. Nice.
I have them all still.
That'd be pretty
That's why
sick.
I made sure I saved them. So like no matter what happens after we leave them, I can give this to whoever I need to.
Right, exactly. Because like for us, we think we would definitely probably benefit from a label, but we don't.
I look at it as it's a benefit for the marketing side.
Yeah.
Because the hardest thing in music that I've noticed is that you need a money man or some way of backing it because shit's expensive.
Yeah, shit is expensive. It's hard because like going to a studio if you don't have
that's
someone
been our biggest problem is trying to get the funds for studio time and get
Yeah.
everything together. Because as much as I have a nice little studio, there's a lot of problems that come with having a home studio.
Yeah,
a lot of
for
things
sure.
you gotta fight.
Yeah. And, for us, it's, getting studio time or trying to get merch made or, the potential of having a music video.
Deciding on where you want to put the funds.
It's expensive.
That's where a lot of it I've been trying. Like our first music video, I did that all myself.
Oh, nice.
We got very, very fortunate with the studio that we did the video at was the exact same day we recorded the song at that exact same studio. And it was a buddy of mine, he went to school with my dad. You ever heard of Billy Morris?
The name sounds familiar.
He's like a famous musician from Ohio.
I was gonna say
famous.
I was gonna say I feel like I know the name. I've definitely heard it thrown around.
So back in the day, he went to high school with my dad, and then kind of got big on his own a little bit, but then played in Warrant and Quiet Riot.
That's where I know the name Warrant. Yep.
Yeah, so he was the guitarist for Warrant for a little bit,
yeah.
or up until what's his name? Billy's gonna kill me if I don't know his name. Their singer died.
Yeah.
He was with them until then.
Janie Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
my buddy's a really big like Janie Lee fan. So when he passed away, he was devastated.
From what I understand of the situation, I think that was part of why he left, was him and the one person that he was buddies with that got him into the band. They were really close with Janie, and I think that's when that happened. They're like, yeah, he's got him. I think I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think
that's what was like. Yeah, I don't need to be in this anymore because I think he was in it for Janie and his buddy that was also in it.
Yeah,
so we met him, and then when I already met him before, and so did our guitarist. But then I ran into him at there's a bar right down the road here. He was playing a little cover band because he has this cover band he plays in.
Yeah.
And I was checking out his gear, and all the gear he has is the same company that I get all my recording software through.
Oh, nice.
And so I was just chatting up his ear about it, and then he's like, who are you? I was like, I'm so-and-so. He's like, your dad? At first he said my uncle. And I was like, no, my dad's this one. He's like, oh, yeah. And so then he sent a friend request on Facebook. He's like, I want you to come see my studio. I'm like, I'd love to come see your studio.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
And then, but from what I've always heard was that Billy was always very hard on the communication side, whereas you don't normally get kind of like, you might get a respond back from him, but he might forget about you the next day just because the man's busy.
Yeah,
that's what I did notice it, but I chalked it up from just working with him and knowing like this dude's nonstop everywhere.
Yeah,
he's got a food truck, the studio, his kids,
Jesus,
his wife's company that she just started this past couple of years.
Wow,
so like this dude's
busy.
over. Yeah, he's over the place all over, and so. he surprisingly, to my surprising, was he actually friended me back instantly almost, and then like messaged me within like minutes of accepting the friend request, and was like, hey, this is the studio, I want you to come in. So I took off work Monday. I was like, you know what, screw my actual job, I'm gonna go take this off and go hang out at a studio.
Yeah, dude, it's a cool opportunity.
And met him up at the studio, showed around, and I was like, this place is sweet. He's like, well, I'm looking for someone to come in and work it. I'm like, I'd love to. He's like, then I'll see you tomorrow. I was like, sweet. So I started working at a studio, and he's like, well, tell me what more do you do in music? I was like, well, I got this band and blah blah blah. He's like, come in Thursday with your band. We'll do a video and record you guys. And I'm like, we'll be there.
Bet, yeah.
And then, so we recorded it, and then he gave I used all his gear for it.
Yeah.
But all the video editing I had to learn how to do myself.
Yeah, I bet.
And so I
difficult.
definitely think that it's cool that with the perks of the social media side, with the big boom of it, there's a lot of people that are giving those tips and showing people how to do those things.
Yeah.
So I was able to learn so quickly just from picking that stuff
right
up.
And the thing is, like, the internet is endless.
Yeah,
you can always find like a video.
YouTube
is like YouTube. That's how I learned how to edit videos, because I do like YouTube on the side and just for fun, and I had to figure out how to edit videos. So I was like, how the fuck do I do this?
That's how I did. That's how I learned how to do vocals. I did it the one time in practice, and I was like, okay, it didn't hurt. I think I can do this. And I went to Extreme Vocal Institute, and I watched all of his videos, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna practice this for a week, and that's I've been doing it ever since, kind of thing. And I almost messed up my vocals last week.
Oh no!
Because I did my throat, like, it didn't. It sounded like for like 2 days straight, it sounded like I was still talking, like I was after the show, when it was like, because everything's so loud and everything like that.
Yeah.
I still had that like hoarse sound, and I was like, why everything sounds so hoarse still?
Right.
Because it normally never does. And I'm like, okay, I think I might have. Because I pushed. That Wednesday show was the first time I've ever been able to like truly, except for the recording side, that was the first time I've ever been able to hold the long screams I do in those songs.
Yeah.
And I held them pretty.
I was
decently.
impressed. Yeah.
And I was like, and I definitely felt I pushed it a little too hard, and I'm like, yeah, I definitely pushed myself too hard.
Yeah, I feel you on that one, because there are times where, like, during the end of a couple songs where I try to just hold it, just not super long, but it's enough.
I always like to see how far I can push myself.
Yeah, it's. I think that's what makes people good musicians in general, or good artists.
David Bowie always said you always gotta experiment or break yourself from your normalcity, or whatever the hell that word is. And try something you've never tried before, because you'll never learn if you're not trying to. If you're not ever trying to further yourself or just experiment, you'll never learn.
Yeah, and that was me with doing vocals too, because, like I said, I've been doing it 8 years now. I've been doing it a long time.
Because your vocals are. Whoa,
thank you, man. I do appreciate that, because I do take pride in that. Because
you should.
Consistent.
It's a skill that not many people can do, and most people don't realize how much freaking hard work it takes.
Yeah,
to figure it
and
out.
That's the thing too, is like I practice day in and day out for.
Oh, I know the crap out of my girlfriend with the warm ups I do.
Yeah.
You ever do the little like that?
Like practicing like fry.
Yeah.
And like opening the doors.
I'll just walk around making that noise. That's most of what my warm up is just making that noise all day.
Yeah, I do that, or I do what is called Tuvan throat singing.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of people who are like beatboxers can do it. I learned how to do it.
How? I've been trying to figure that shit out.
It's kind of weird, because
the circular breathing.
It kind of, but it's a. I looked up a music video, or not a music video. I looked up a video on how to do it, because I originally heard it was called Mongolian throat singing.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's pretty much the same thing, but I found that out from a dude who used to play in the band, who was a part of the Doom Eternal soundtrack, because Mick Gordon had gotten all these vocalists, like female and male, and had them doing like these gnarly vocal screams. And this one dude was able to do Tuvan throat singing, and he did that on certain parts of the soundtrack for Doom Eternal, which I ended up later finding out that he ended up passing away and committing suicide. Yeah, it was very sad when I found out about that, but he was a very good vocalist from all the music I checked out. He was gnarly.
Throat singing. You ever seen The Who?
Yes,
Have
yes.
you seen them live?
I thought that shit was so cool.
Insane live.
Oh, I bet. I haven't seen them live.
I got to see them with Asking last year at Temple.
Nice.
And it was insane.
I bet. And the thing is too is that from everybody I've ever seen on like forums, they're like, dude, anytime that they've met them, they're like, dude, the Who is just so nice. Like they're the coolest
super
people.
genuine dudes too. Yeah,
Yeah, they're just
I've
grateful to be there.
Never got to meet them, but I've seen a bunch of videos and they've always seemed super
They're
genuine.
just stoked.
Yeah,
to even be a part of it.
It's
So,
like, oh wait, we can do music too.
right.
It's awesome. I know the amount of like with Alex Terrible and all these different like Bjork and all these different European artists now coming in and they're taking the front over most of American, where it used to be 90% American with like 10% of European artists. I have been loving seeing all like Die Artist Murder, all these European bands just getting this massive boom back.
Yeah,
in
and the thing
spotlight.
is too, I'm a big sucker for like Aussie metalcore. So like
Make
Them Suffer and
Thy
Alpha
Art.
Wolf, Thy Art, just like, well, I guess Thy Art is technically deathcore, but it's Aussie metal.
I wouldn't even
is
call
just,
them deathcore. I would call them more straight up death metal because they don't really do too much clean.
not anymore. Yeah, because like in the beginning, I know they would experiment. I think.
Okay.
I would have to double check, but
I'm gonna be honest. I only listen to one of their albums, and I don't even mean album. I listen to one of their songs.
which one?
Holy War.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I was gonna say because CJ's not
always
even in
tried-
that band anymore.
Yeah, I know. I'm so mad because I became friends with him on Facebook, and then he got kicked out of the band. I was like, now it's not worth being friends with you.
Yeah, that's a tough thing too, because like that's a funny thing too. Is like one of the first deathcore bands I found was it originally was Chelsea Grin, and it was the song Krukabanger from fucking 2008. God,
I did a cover of Chelsea Grin's version of Them Bones.
Oh no shit!
Yeah, we did a cover of their cover of Them Bones. That was my
Nice.
first band, and that was a fun little way to thrash it up.
Oh, dude, for sure. But it was like Chelsea Grin. Then I found like Born of Osiris, Oceano, and then Thy Art Is Murder. And I was like, oh shit, like these bands are gnarly. And then I just got into deathcore.
Did you ever
and then
listen to
Suicide Silence?
A Night in Texas?
Yes,
My buddy showed me that. I'm like, holy fuck,
dude. Yeah,
they're intense.
The song that really got me hooked was Population Extermination. Dude, those highs are just so insane. I've never heard people with such like shrill highs until what is the band I'm thinking of? Darren Gray? I think it's Darren Gray.
Yeah.
They're like a Japanese metal band. They've been around for like 20 some years.
Fuck yeah.
But their music is gnarly.
So then, who would you say your favorite vocalist in the scene would be then? Like, who do you look up to on?
Well, for me, I have two. The two that I look up the most was Mitch Lucker from Suicide Silence, because he was just gnarly
Insane.
with
That dude's
highs.
fucking vocals were
And just
insane.
an awesome front man.
Yeah.
Like he was one that put on a fucking show. Like the guys are all jamming, headbanging and stuff, but the way he commanded a crowd was just amazing to me.
That's one thing I've always tried to do was work on practice good crowd work and be
Yeah. And I work on that too. It's a little hard, obviously, when you're like a starting band or like a smaller band. But you know, the more and more that you play shows and people are just hanging out, you know, or
the
they're
more
familiar
the more you
with
kind of get to understand how it works and how to
Yeah. Like even on the Valentine's Day show, that was the first time we ever had a mosh pit like
Fuck
that.
yeah.
That was our like second ever mosh
Hell
pit.
yeah,
and I thought
that's
that shit was
awesome.
so cool.
I love mosh pits.
I do too. I think it's awesome. So it's gratifying to me to see people just vibing to our music.
See, I always try to hype people up and try to get them to start a mosh pit because you see I jump in them.
Oh yeah,
I jump.
I
in 'em.
see.
Well, I'll start
You're
'em.
always in
I
there.
started I think I started one of them.
Yeah, I think so. But it's just fun, man. That's what I love. And then Austin Dickey is just the one that like he got me started on it, and I've just been a fan since. You know, like that he's the one that helped me get my start, and I don't look at him as a rival more than I look at him as like a mentor. You know, like because he did like the grizzly. He calls it like the grizzly scream, which it kind of sounds like a bear.
No, he sounds like a straight demonic.
he's
being.
he's a monster, dude.
Dude's a beast.
Dude, he's a monster.
And
but
watching him live, it's insane. Like
Yeah.
his live performance is definitely I would agree on it. It's a big influence for me. It's just his ferocity on stage.
Yeah.
The way he just throws his body around.
yeah, and like seeing old like tour vlogs and stuff that he did when he was with For the Likes of You. Rest in peace to that band. I'm so sad that they're not around anymore.
That band's had 3 forms. You know that, right?
Yeah.
It was For Likes of You, and then it became Dragged Under. And
Oh,
it
no,
became
that was
before
a side project.
It was
Yeah.
Rest Review, and then Rest Review became Dragged Under.
Yeah, it was originally like For the Likes of You, and then Austin had a side project that was called Dragged Under, and then Rest Repose, which was Jared's band.
Yeah.
That was Jared's band with Tony, who is now the vocalist in Dragged Under.
Super nice guy.
Yeah, I bet. And I've emailed him a couple times. He's really nice.
I talked to him. They were supposed to come to this last tour. They came to Ohio. I was like, hey, how do we open for you guys? He's like, hit up the. He responded, actually. I was impressed. That him and I think it was either Tony or Ryan that responded. He's like, hey, hit up the manager. Like, we have nothing really control of this, but like, hit up the manager. We'd love, like, if you guys can, like, it'd be sweet.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a lot of things that I've noticed when it comes to bigger bands is like usually you want to reach out to either their manager or you want to reach out to the booker.
Yeah, the booker, yeah.
Because there was a show that Boundaries had over at the Foundry, and I think it was like December 6th or something like that. It was just this past December. Yeah. And we really wanted to open for that show because we love Boundaries. Me and my guitarist especially. Like song
I want to open up for
who
again, fucking Bro Job.
Dude, I would love to meet those guys. They seem so fun to be around.
Not to interrupt you, but I just wanted to. We can talk about that after. But back to your saying.
No, you're fine because I think that shit is so cool. I love Bro Job too.
Hilarious.
And I find it so funny that if I'm not mistaken, they're from Ohio too.
Are
or
they?
At least I think at least a couple members are.
Okay,
yeah.
sweet. Yeah, they're fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I think they're from like more southern Ohio. I think.
Okay, it makes sense.
I would have to double check.
Most of the big metal bands that kind of came up in the 2000s eras are from fucking Columbus.
Yeah, I know.
Columbus and Cincinnati was Black Veil Brides. Fucking who else?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about how many bands are actually from Ohio.
Yeah,
it's so funny to me, but. Excuse me, like there's this death metal band that is called 200 Stab Wounds. They're from Ohio. Sangasugabog, they're from Ohio.
I'm have to check them out. That's an interesting name.
Those are two really cool death metal bands.
Hell yeah.
I think you'd find a lot of interest in.
Hell yeah.
There was like a whole beef on it between Ronnie Radke and Sangasugabog.
Of course.
And people like. If you've seen the vocalist from Sangasugabog, for everyone that's listening, you know that motherfucker's built.
That's the motherfucker he's trying to fight right now.
Dude, yeah.
Ronnie Radke, you fucked. I'm sorry, homie, but you're a bitch. You're fucked.
Dude, he is buff. Like, that is scary. Like, I've seen him on the Garza podcast from... Dude, I love that podcast. Such a good one. Because he just interviews all these, like, cool bands that even I've never heard of. Like, he interviewed a band called Frozen Soul. And it's a cool death metal band.
It's a good name.
Yeah, it's a cool-ass name.
Do you know I have one of my favorite music quotes is from Mick Mars. Shitty name, shitty band. And so I always look for bands names. I'm like, what's your band name?
Right.
Because it tells you it honestly. And from playing a lot of local shows the past couple of years, or the past year or so, kind of holds true to some extent.
To some degree, yeah. There's a band that I'll tell you off air, but there was a band that we played with that I'm not their biggest fan.
We've had a few of those.
Yeah, it's just mostly just because they played their set and left. They were one of those people.
Makes sense, yeah.
They literally were like an opener, played their set and left.
I hate leaving.
She
hates me for it too, to a point, because like I'll stay too long.
Yeah,
because like it'll be like
we
for. I think the first time we played that Valentine's Day show, I was there until like, I think I was there after, I was still there, and Michael and all them already left last year. I hang out way too long because I don't want to leave.
Yeah, it's like you don't want the day to end.
I don't want the night to end. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a fun time. Like you're just hanging out with some people. Like the guys in For Abs and Friends. Those guys are so nice. Like I love those guys. Like I have a lanyard and a bracelet from them and a shirt, but it's at home. But you know, they're just some of the nicest dudes, and they put on a good show. And I feel like they're definitely like an underrated band.
One of the times we played a show with them at Maple Grove. I think it was the one you guys might have were supposed to play with us last year.
It could have been because we didn't play that one because our guitarist broke his hand.
Yeah, I said he showed up to that show. Still,
he did.
Yes.
Yeah, he still went. I couldn't because I was dealing with some stuff at the time. But
I made a joke to him at this last show. They were supposed to sword fight me on Wednesday, but they didn't, because the last time we played with them, we sword fought in the fucking parking lot.
Nice.
It was hilarious.
That's awesome.
Well, man, this has been amazing. It's been
Yeah,
awesome
dude.
getting to finally actually get to know you, get to know you. So
absolutely. It's been fun, man.
Yeah,
I
man.
appreciate you for having me on.
yeah, seriously, thank you for coming on. Thank you for driving an insane amount of distance.
I got you.
You are amazing.
Thank
Have
you.
fun at your show tonight.
Yeah, we'll do.
When's your guys' this is gonna come out probably mid-March, so when's your guys' next shows? What you guys looking up to next coming out around that time? What do you guys got?
For the listeners who don't know, I'm in a band called Left Unsaid. I'm the vocalist. And by the time this comes out, we will have a show. Well, we have a few shows lined up. We have March 22nd over at the Outpost in Kent for Core Night.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we get to play with them. Play that with Only the Lucky Ones Die. Really
yeah.
cool band.
Yeah.
Really nice dudes. And then we play March 23rd over at the Foundry in Lakewood for a Klemosh spin-off show that they're doing called Underground.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. We're playing with Dead Cassette, like Tyrants,
Hell yeah.
Daydreamer, Titans in Time.
It's going to be a dope show.
Denialist, and it's
Hell yeah,
gonna
it's going to be a
such
dope
fucking
show.
sick show. I'm so stoked for that.
And then where can they find you guys at on social media?
You can find us on Instagram at left_unsaid_band on Instagram, and then Facebook is Left Unsaid 666.
Hell yeah.
And then TikTok is also Left Unsaid 666.
All right, you guys heard that. Go fucking follow these motherfuckers because they are fucking dope. Go see them at a show, support local music, and we'll catch y'all later.
Thanks.
Stay weird.
Yep.